Wait just a second, because what you're about to hear might explain everything you've been sensing lately. And if this message reached you right now, it's not random at all. Chosen one, let me ask you something. Why does it feel like your life has been quietly shifting behind the scenes, even though nothing looks different on the outside? That feeling isn't imagination. Something is preparing to break open for you, and the timing is much closer than you think. You've been noticing changes in your energy, in your connections, and even in the way certain situations no longer feel the same. These are not small things, they're signals. Signals that a sudden move of God is forming, and your entire path is about to turn in a direction you couldn't create on your own. Stay with me, because in the next moments, you'll understand why things have felt uncertain, why old doors are fading, and why new ones are showing up out of nowhere. You're being positioned for a shift that will arrive quickly, unexpectedly, and powerfully. This message is your early warning and your preparation. Sometimes the loudest movement from God happens during the quietest moments of your life. You may go through long stretches where nothing seems to change, your prayers feel unanswered, and you wonder if anything is actually happening. That silence can feel draining, even confusing, because it makes you question whether God is still paying attention. But that quiet season is not a sign of absence, it's a sign of preparation. Think about the times when you felt stuck, overlooked, or forgotten. Those seasons often push you to grow in ways you wouldn't have if everything came easily. During silence, God works behind the scenes, rearranging circumstances, closing harmful paths, and maturing you for the thing you've been waiting for. Just because you didn't see progress doesn't mean there wasn't any. Some blessings take time to align, especially when they're meant to last. This is why sudden breakthroughs feel so dramatic. One moment life looks the same, the next, everything shifts. It's not luck, it's timing. Silence builds the foundation, so the change, when it arrives, comes fast, clear, and undeniable. If you've been in a quiet season, don't lose hope. It often means something powerful is getting ready to unfold. When something ends unexpectedly, a job, a relationship, an opportunity, it's easy to feel frustrated or confused. You might even wonder why God allowed it to fall apart when you were giving your best. But closed doors are rarely punishment. They're guidance. They're God's way of saying, this path would have limited you, drained you, or delayed you. I'm steering you somewhere better. Think about the moments when you tried to force something to work, yet no matter how hard you pushed, it simply wouldn't move. That resistance isn't failure, it's protection. God sees what you can't, people's true intentions, long-term consequences, and hidden risks. So when a door shuts suddenly, it's usually because God knows the road ahead would have taken you away from your purpose rather than toward it. Sometimes you only understand the closure months or years later, when you finally see what God was trying to save you from. And in many cases, that no becomes the very thing that leads you to a much bigger yes. A redirection isn't a setback, it's a setup. When a door closes, don't panic, pause, breathe, and trust that God is guiding you towards something that fits your future, not your past. Before God brings you into a better season, He often clears out relationships that can't grow with you. This can feel painful, especially when the people leaving your life are ones you cared for deeply or expected to stay. But not everyone is meant to stand beside you in the next chapter. Some people are only assigned to a specific stage of your journey, not the entire story. Sometimes the separation is sudden, arguments out of nowhere, distance that wasn't there before, or a slow realization that someone's energy no longer matches your direction. Other times, you start noticing truths you previously overlooked, inconsistent behavior, lack of support, or silent jealousy. These moments aren't accidents, they're clarity. God removes people who would block your growth, drain your spirit, or distract you from your calling. And here's the part many forget. When God allows someone to leave, He is also creating space for someone better aligned with your purpose. New connections, supportive relationships, and healthier bonds often appear only after old attachments fade. Losing people isn't always loss. Sometimes it's God protecting your next level. Trust that whoever is meant to walk with you will stay, and whoever leaves was never meant to carry your future. When God is getting ready to shift your life, one of the first things you feel is discomfort. Not the kind that means something is wrong, but the kind that shows something is changing. You may suddenly outgrow environments that once felt comfortable. Conversations feel different. Your routine stops fulfilling you. Even your old habits no longer fit who you're becoming. That inner restlessness is not random, it's preparation. Think of it this way: before a new season arrives, God stirs your spirit so you don't settle for what's familiar. Growth rarely feels smooth at the beginning. It often feels like confusion, irritation, or a quiet pull towards something you can't fully explain. You might lose interest in things you used to enjoy or feel pushed to confront areas you've avoided. This shift isn't meant to overwhelm you, it's meant to wake you up. Discomfort pushes you to move. Without it, most people would stay in places that are safe but stagnant. God uses this feeling to guide you toward decisions you wouldn't make if everything stayed easy. So if life feels unusually uncomfortable right now, don't panic. It may be the clearest sign that God is preparing you for something bigger than your current surroundings. Right before a major shift happens in your life, your inner awareness becomes sharper. You start noticing things you would normally overlook: small signs, subtle changes in people's behavior, and gentle nudges in your spirit. It's not anxiety and it's not overthinking. It's God tuning your heart to a higher level of awareness so you don't miss what He's preparing. You may find yourself paying closer attention to your emotions, your boundaries, and the atmosphere around you. Certain conversations feel heavier, certain places feel draining, and certain people feel different even if nothing obvious has changed. This heightened sensitivity helps you separate what's good for your future from what only fits your past. You might also feel more connected to your intuition. Thoughts come out of nowhere that feel meaningful. You sense when something is off without needing proof. You feel guided toward decisions that bring peace, even if they don't fully make sense yet. This is not random, it's preparation. God sharpens your spirit because the next season requires clarity, not confusion. When your sensitivity increases, it's a sign that something important is drawing closer, and God wants you ready, alert, and aligned with the direction He's taking you. As you get closer to a sudden shift, your inner voice starts speaking with more clarity. You might notice yourself sensing things before they happen or feeling guided towards certain actions without knowing why. This isn't random, it's your spirit aligning with the direction God is pulling you toward. Sometimes you'll feel a strong yes or no inside you without any logical explanation. You may walk into a place and instantly sense whether it fits your energy or not. Or you might suddenly feel the urge to stop talking to someone, change your routine, or move away from certain habits. These inner signals are God's way of communicating with you through intuition. This sharpened intuition also protects you. It warns you before you make the wrong decision and nudges you when something feels off. You might not have proof, but you feel it, and later you realize your intuition was right. That's spiritual alignment. When your inner voice gets louder, it means God wants you to trust your instincts more than your fears. He's preparing you for a season where quick decisions and clear judgment will matter. Pay attention to those inner nudges, they're getting you into your next level. When God is preparing you for a sudden shift, you'll notice that certain habits you once relied on just don't feel the same anymore. You don't force yourself to change. Your spirit simply starts losing interest in the things that used to comfort, distract, or entertain you. This is one of the clearest signs of growth. Change that happens quietly, without pressure. Maybe you stop chasing validation from certain people. Maybe you find yourself less drawn to old routines that kept you stuck. Maybe you're no longer comfortable with conversations or behaviors that drain your spirit. These shifts aren't about discipline alone, they're about alignment. God removes the habits that no longer match your next season. What once felt normal now feels heavy. What once felt enjoyable now feels pointless. And what once felt safe now feels limiting. This isn't a sign of losing yourself, it's a sign of becoming the version of you that's ready for elevation. Transformation often starts internally long before anything shows up in your outer life. When old habits fall away naturally, it means your spirit is preparing for a better lifestyle, better choices, and a better path. You're not being forced to change, you're being pulled forward. When God is getting ready to change your life suddenly, you'll notice that certain opportunities start showing up with little to no effort from your side. You don't chase them, they come toward you. This is a sign that the season of struggle is shifting into a season of alignment, where things begin to flow instead of feeling forced. These opportunities might appear as unexpected phone calls, surprising invitations, or open doors that weren't even on your radar before. You might meet someone who offers guidance, support, or insight at exactly the moment you need it. Or you could find yourself receiving information, direction, or resources that fit your goals perfectly, even though you didn't search for them. The important thing is this: these openings feel peaceful, they don't drain you, they don't require begging or proving yourself. They simply match who you're becoming. That's how divine timing works. You stop pushing and God starts placing. This doesn't mean everything becomes easy overnight, but it does mean you're stepping into a phase where the right things and right people begin to find you naturally. When opportunities arrive with ease, it's a sign that you're moving into alignment with the path God designed for you. Before a major shift arrives, you often feel a strong pull inside you, almost like you're being guided somewhere, even if you don't fully understand where you're going. This feeling shows up as restlessness, curiosity, or a quiet knowing that your current situation is no longer where you're meant to stay. It's not fear, it's movement. You may start noticing that certain goals, dreams, or ideas keep popping into your mind repeatedly. It might be the urge to learn something new, change your environment, connect with new people, or step away from something that no longer feels right. Even if these thoughts seem random, they carry weight. They come with a sense of purpose. This inner pull often appears during transitions because God is shifting your direction long before the physical changes show up. Your spirit recognizes the new chapter before your mind does. That's why you feel drawn to things you can't fully explain yet. Instead of ignoring that pull, pay attention to it. It's getting you towards something bigger, something aligned with your next level. This quiet inner nudge is often the first sign that God is preparing you for a path that will stretch you, grow you, and elevate you. When you're close to a sudden breakthrough, it feels like everything around you starts moving faster. Delays that once held you back begin to loosen. Situations that were stuck for months suddenly shift in a matter of days. People who never responded before now reach out. Plans that seemed impossible start coming together without the usual stress or confusion. This acceleration isn't random, it's timing. Divine timing works differently from your timing. It moves when everything is aligned, not when you feel ready. So when God decides it's time, things that felt slow suddenly gain momentum. It's like watching pieces of a puzzle fall into place one after another, revealing a picture you didn't even realize was forming. You may notice that you're making quicker decisions, receiving faster clarity, or being pushed into action in ways you weren't before. Doors open that you weren't even knocking on. Ideas come with more force. Your energy feels more focused. All of this is God's way of helping you step into the next part of your life without hesitation. Rapid movement is a sign that your waiting season is shifting into a season of action. When things start picking up speed, it's because God is telling you the moment you've been praying for is finally approaching. Right before a sudden breakthrough, you often start experiencing a level of clarity that feels almost surprising. Situations that once confused you begin to make sense. Questions you carried for months suddenly feel lighter. You gain a better understanding of what you want, what you need to release, and where you're meant to go. This clarity doesn't come from overthinking, it comes from alignment. You may also notice a quiet peace settling over you, even if your circumstances haven't improved yet. It's the kind of peace that doesn't match what you see, but matches what you feel. This is God's way of calming your spirit so you can walk into the next season with confidence rather than fear. This peace often shows up after emotional storms, moments when you cried, questioned everything, or felt overwhelmed. Once the emotional weight lifts, you're left with a sense of inner steadiness that feels unfamiliar but comforting. You stop fighting against the process and start trusting it. Clarity and peace are signs that God is preparing your heart for what's coming. When your thoughts settle and your spirit feels calmer, it means the next chapter is getting closer, and you're being spiritually aligned to receive it. As you get closer to a sudden shift, something changes in the way you pray. You stop asking for things that once came from fear, pressure, or impatience, and your prayers become more focused, more honest, and more aligned with who you're becoming. You start praying for guidance instead of control. You pray for strength instead of shortcuts. You pray for clarity instead of comfort. This shift shows your spirit is maturing. You're no longer begging for outcomes, you're asking for alignment. You may even notice that certain things you used to desperately want don't carry the same weight anymore. Your desires become cleaner, simpler, and more connected to your purpose. That's a sign that God is shaping your heart for the blessings ahead. And then something powerful happens. Your prayers begin to feel more meaningful. You sense them reaching the right place. You feel more connected, more understood, and more supported. This is because your prayers are no longer fighting God's plan, they're cooperating with it. When your prayers shift from, "Give me what I want," to "Lead me where I need to be," you're stepping into alignment. And alignment is what opens the door to sudden breakthroughs. One of the clearest signs that a breakthrough is near is when the heaviness you've been carrying begins to fade without any obvious reason. You may wake up one day feeling lighter, more hopeful, or more stable emotionally, even though your circumstances haven't changed yet. This shift isn't random. It's God clearing out the emotional fog that was weighing you down. Discouragement often builds during long seasons of waiting. It shows up as frustration, confusion, or the feeling that nothing is working. But when God is about to move, that emotional pressure starts lifting. You feel less tired. Your thoughts become less negative. The worries that once overwhelmed you lose their power. It's as if something inside you quietly says, "Keep going, you're closer than you think." You may also notice a sudden ability to let go of things that used to bother you deeply. Small issues no longer drain you. Old wounds feel less sharp. Your mind becomes clearer, and your heart feels steadier. This emotional shift is God strengthening you for the next chapter so that when the breakthrough arrives, you can walk into it without carrying old burdens. When discouragement lifts unexpectedly, it means hope is being restored, because your spirit knows what your eyes haven't seen yet. As you move closer to a breakthrough, people who never showed their true intentions before may suddenly start acting differently. You might notice subtle jealousy, unusual distance, or small comments that don't match the support they claim to give. These shifts aren't coincidences, they're moments of revelation. God allows certain behaviors to surface so you can see who is safe to bring into your next season and who cannot be trusted with your growth. Sometimes the revelation comes through misunderstandings, unexpected conflicts, or moments where someone's true attitude slips out. Other times, people simply remove themselves or they stop celebrating your progress the way they once did. Instead of taking these situations personally, see them as clarity. Your spirit is rising, and not everyone is comfortable with that. This exposure is protection, not punishment. God doesn't want you stepping into a new chapter surrounded by people who might misuse your vulnerability, drain your energy, or speak against you behind your back. So He reveals them, often right before your life changes, so you don't carry the wrong company into a season meant to elevate you. When someone shows their real side, believe it. It's a sign that God is clearing your path and making room for people who truly support your calling. As you get closer to a major shift, life begins sending you patterns, little signals that seem too specific to ignore. You might notice the same numbers, similar messages, or repeated phrases appearing in conversations, videos, or even in your thoughts. These patterns aren't coincidences, they're reminders that you're being guided and that something is aligning for you. Sometimes the confirmations come through unexpected moments. You may overhear a sentence that speaks directly to your situation. A stranger might say something that hits exactly where your heart is. Or you may find yourself repeatedly drawn to a message that feels strangely timely. These are gentle nudges from God, showing you that you're not moving blindly. He's communicating with you in ways your spirit can recognize. These signs often appear more frequently when you're on the right path. They help strengthen your faith when doubt tries to distract you. They reassure you when your circumstances haven't changed yet, but your spirit knows something is coming. Instead of trying to decode every sign, let them simply remind you that you're not alone in the process. When confirmations show up again and again, it means you're aligned, supported, and heading towards something meaningful. Breakthroughs rarely arrive without warning. God prepares your heart through signs long before the shift becomes visible. As you move closer to a sudden breakthrough, you'll notice that the things you once struggled to find start appearing at the perfect moment. You might receive help, information, support, or opportunities that arrive exactly when you need them. Not too early, not too late. This isn't luck, it's provision. Sometimes the resources come through people. Someone offers guidance, shares knowledge, or gives you a chance you didn't expect. Other times, they show up through timing. A bill gets covered just in time, a job opens right when you were losing hope. Or a new idea pops into your mind exactly when you feel stuck. These moments remind you that God supplies what your next step requires. This shift is especially noticeable after long periods where you felt you were doing everything alone. Suddenly, the pressure feels lighter. You don't have to beg or force things to happen. What you need flows toward you without the anxiety or overwhelm you once carried. That's a sign of alignment. Your path is being prepared ahead of you. When resources start meeting you at the perfect moment, it means you're entering a season where provision matches purpose. God is making sure you're supported as you step into the next chapter. As God prepares you for a sudden shift, something inside you begins to awaken. You start feeling a quiet but steady sense of purpose rising again, even if life around you still looks uncertain. Goals that once felt blurry become clearer. Things you ignored for months begin to matter again. And instead of feeling lost, you feel a gentle pull toward direction and meaning. This renewed purpose doesn't arrive with loud excitement. It often shows up as a soft, steady motivation. You may find yourself wanting to improve certain areas of your life, take responsibility for things you once avoided, or invest your time in healthier activities. You become more intentional with your energy, more selective with your relationships, and more aware of what truly aligns with your spirit. What's happening is simple. God is reconnecting you with your calling. The distractions that once pulled you away lose their grip. The confusion that made you hesitate begins to fade, and you start sensing that your life is meant for more than surviving day by day. You're being prepared to step into something meaningful. This renewed purpose is a sign that the next chapter requires a stronger, clearer version of you, and God is shaping you for it from the inside out. Right before a major shift happens in your life, you begin noticing a change in how you respond to challenges. Things that once intimidated you suddenly feel manageable. Situations that used to trigger anxiety no longer hold the same power. This inner strength isn't coming from your own effort. It's coming from God preparing you emotionally and spiritually for where you're heading. You may feel nervous, but you're not paralyzed. You may feel unsure, but you're not defeated. That's growth. It's the moment when your spirit finally starts leading your life more than your fear does. You begin trusting yourself more, you trust God more, and you trust that whatever is ahead, you're not facing it alone. Fear doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses its grip. You start taking small steps you once avoided. You speak up in moments where you used to stay quiet. You reach for things you once thought were impossible. This shift shows that your confidence is coming from a deeper place, not from circumstances. When your spirit becomes stronger than your fear, it's a sign that you're ready for the opportunities God is bringing. Elevation requires courage, and God strengthens you before the blessing arrives so you can step into it without hesitation. As a breakthrough approaches, you'll notice yourself pulling away from things that once consumed your energy. It might be certain people, habits, environments, or conversations. You don't feel angry, hurt, or dramatic about it, you just feel done. This quiet detachment is a sign that God is shifting your spirit out of old cycles and preparing you for something healthier. You might realize you're no longer emotionally invested in arguments that used to upset you. You don't feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You stop chasing approval or forcing connections. Even the things you used to tolerate without question now feel heavy or unnecessary. That's because your spirit is outgrowing what your environment hasn't caught up with yet. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's you recognizing where your peace belongs and where it doesn't. It's the moment you prioritize your future over your familiarity. When the things that once drained you lose their hold, it means your energy is being redirected towards something more aligned with your purpose. This shift happens right before elevation because God doesn't want your next blessings to be poured into places that can't sustain them. Your spirit knows when it's time to move on, long before your circumstances change. As you approach a major shift, there's a natural awareness that starts building inside you, almost like your spirit knows what your mind hasn't seen yet. You can't explain it in words, but you feel it. There's an inner anticipation, a quiet excitement, or a strange sense of readiness that seems to come from nowhere. This is not wishful thinking, it's spiritual alignment. You may notice your thoughts becoming more hopeful, your expectations start rising again. Even during ordinary moments, you feel a subtle pressure in your spirit, as if you're standing at the edge of something significant. It's not anxiety, it's preparation. It's the sense that God is moving pieces, shifting paths, and arranging things behind the scenes on your behalf. This feeling often shows up after long periods of struggle or waiting. It's your spirit recognizing that the season is changing even before the evidence appears. And when you feel this rising sense of something big is coming, it usually means God has already started opening the door, you're just getting ready to walk through it. Trust that inner signal. Breakthroughs rarely arrive without a spiritual whisper beforehand. That quiet knowing is your confirmation that the next chapter is closer than you think. Chosen one, if anything in this message spoke to your spirit, take it as your sign that God is preparing you for a sudden, powerful shift. You are not behind, you are not forgotten, and you are not walking through this season alone. Everything you've endured has been shaping you, strengthening you, and positioning you for the change that is coming faster than you expect. As you step forward, keep your heart open and your faith steady. Trust that every closed door, every shift, and every moment of discomfort has been guiding you towards something greater. Your breakthrough is not a distant dream, it's already forming, and when it arrives, it will make sense of every waiting season you survived. Thank you for being here with Wisdom Crest. If this message gave you clarity, hope, or confirmation, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear which part touched you the most. Before you go, speak this over your life and comment it below. My breakthrough is closer than I think. Say it, write it, and believe it, because your life is about to change in ways you never imagined.